So things ended rather calamitously at the end of the last one. Explain how they got to that point.
Well,
Uh,
okay, so we ended up not trusting Russell.
Yes. I think you started off still in the. Actually, no, you just finished your talk with the Apostle of Atonement, Oracle of Atonement, and been smushed back up onto the surface where you saw the temple shining with a bright beam up into the sky.
in
Yeah.
fact, we didn't trust Russell so much that we got in a fight with him and his mates.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, things
So-
kicked off in the temple as you made aggressive moves towards Russell, and you had to fight a whole bunch of aliens.
And we think he's trying to summon down an alien army.
Yes.
Certainly tried to teleport up by jumping into a beam of upward teleportation. But he didn't teleport up, he teleported sideways because Minim grabbed him and took him to the Oracle of Atonement.
Yes.
Ooh, interesting.
And then what else happened in the temple after that?
So I hit the gem that focused the light with a grenade, didn't I?
I think you just whacked it with
No, yeah. I
There was
I
a
threw it
crack
down
in it.
down
I
the
think
wrong
someone else
place.
weakened it, and then you gave it a mighty bash.
Yeah, I jumped down at it, hit it with my swords, and it blew up.
Yep.
That right?
Independence Day style.
Yeah, and I was able to save myself with a cipher that basically takes me out of reality for a short amount of time.
Yes, that is indeed the case.
How big was this explosion exactly? Doesn't it take you out, or did it take the temple out?
It took the temple out, although it did not injure the people who ran away from it or who cunningly used a cipher
Okay.
to protect themselves.
So there's no temple.
Basically, yes. However, as you emerged from the aftermath of that, you noticed that it appears that despite not being able to escape, Russell had established some kind of signal with some kind of outer force up in the sky, because a blue laser was shining down and sent a signal, and that continued even after the temple was blown up.
Where was the blue laser pointing? Sorry, at the temple, or
Yeah.
Yes,
So
directly
connecting
from
the
above.
temple to the ship, but now the beam is still there.
Yes, the
Okay.
beam from above. It's still there, and yes. Oh, and
Also, the graveyard got up.
yes, it
Oh,
did.
what?
It seems to be surging up out of the ground and somehow coalescing and forming, much in the way it did when the Guardian appeared before.
Oh, right. Is it seem bigger than before? About the same?
Well, it's difficult to tell so far. It is still just kind of surging all up out of the ground.
This is the thing we were expecting to happen, wasn't it? After a short time.
More or less. It's a little bit unclear exactly why it's happening. So just to remind you a little bit on the backstory of that, the repository, as you have found out to a great extent, is a kind of combination graveyard and prison and kind of torture chamber for a great number of essentially kind of war criminals and great criminals who have been condemned there. In your talk with the Oracle, you found out that she basically serves as the focus of a huge amount of power that is kind of stored or somehow generated here, that seems to be tied in with the grief and anguish of the prisoners who are kept there. And she, despite being a great sinner herself, and then basically inherently evil, cruel, aggressive person, she has taken on the role of sort of prison warden slash sort of priest, I guess you might say. Once she found out about the interference of Russell and the hazard that he posed to her function, exactly what happens with that will remain to be seen, as let's join Minim, who teleported into the chamber where you had previously met the Oracle, with Russell in tow. So you you flash into place within the chamber. It looks kind of roughly the same as before, but it's kind of clear as well that the whole mass and structure of the kind of subterranean graveyard has shifted and is shifting around you as the chamber is kind of a slightly different shape. It's in a slightly different place, and just generally looks different. Kind of hear the rumble and smashing of graves and storage units and all kinds of other things kind of moving and smashing against each other. You see the Oracle in a state of, well, actually, I have a picture. She looks very different from before. As you left her previously, you saw that she was starting to summon and focus some of the power of this place into her, and it was already rather kind of warping and changing her form. She now looks rather like this.
Well, that's
Yeah.
different.
Yes.
She has unlocked her final form.
Yeah.
Just as the, well, maybe, just as the, structure of the graveyard and everything else is, seems to be very much kind of controlled and shaped by the power that she focuses. So her own form has become twisted and accreted with kind of matter from the condemned items around her, and she, or in this case, kind of it, is glowing with power and energy, but also. Which may trouble Russell maybe more than Minim. There's basically just a colossal kind of screeching emanating from her and the entire space around her that kind of makes the entire ground and walls and stuff around you kind of thrum with the sound of it. Let's see. Let's say you kind of flash into place with Russell in tow, kind of somewhat behind her, so she doesn't immediately notice you. So you have a moment to, decide what action to take.
It's kind of like throw Russell out in front, sort of give him a push. This one's yours.
She, as soon as you make a movement basically and kind of shove Russell forward, she notices you and rounds on you. The energy coursing through her kind of flares up like blue flames, running out through her kind of rib-like structures, and the kind of cowl that is warping and wending kind of around her. Before you could already, and probably especially Minim, sense the sheer amount of kind of power that is coursing through her, and now you can sense even more strongly to what extent it is being unleashed as she reacts to the events above, basically. And I think so. She saw you before, I think, Minim, already, right?
Yeah.
So she recognizes you, and but more to the point, she recognizes Russell and basically kind of does almost the body snatches thing. She just levels her finger at him and just yawns her horrible twisted mouth wide and just like screams. And to what extent you can make out any words, she basically is screaming, "What have you done?" To him. He, the whole floor is shaking and everything. He kind of falls to the ground, and the energy that is kind of flowing off her and also just kind of firing around this whole chamber alights on him and kind of flares up and burns, but doesn't seem to be injuring him as such. Rather, it is basically burning off his kind of flowery, leafy covering that he had adopted. And
Blaze up.
and you may remember, let's see, do I have still the picture? So he looks somewhat similar to this. Although as his kind of flowery covering is burnt off. He's revealed to be in somewhat better state than this guy. So that guy looks more like one of the random condemned who was roaming this space and who attacked you. But Russell is rather more kind of neat and clean looking, and he has these kind of bark-like plates covering him underneath. So basically, he's kind of revealed, and he's basically cowering before her, and he starts kind of yammering, and it's along the lines of, how can you still think that this place is a just punishment? I escaped as anyone would. We've suffered more than is conceivable. It's time for us to regain our freedom and our rightful place, or at least it is for me. And that's what he's kind of saying. And she simply says something like, "You are condemned tenfold." At least the other prisoners here accept their fate. And Russell says, "How would you know? You torture them without end, and all that they know and all they can express is torment. I was able to gain a reprieve and see clearly that enough is enough." And she says, she just says, "You will be consumed, and your consumption will, let's see, your consumption will fuel the righting of the wrong you have drawn down." And with that, she seems to have nothing more to say, as she basically becomes racked with it almost seems like kind of pain, or just the overwhelming power that she is controlling or channeling, as that same power erupts within and fills and courses over the chamber that you are within, and Russell and yourself, Minim. And it is a very intense and overwhelming feeling that is not unlike being electrocuted, rather seriously. You, in the initial surge of this, you take 6 damage, less any armor.
I guess there's no defense potential on this. It's just some sort of like.
Let's
just hits
see.
you.
Okay, actually, yeah, you can make a intellect or might defense, but it's going to be level 8.
Golly.
Yikes.
But it is simply filling the entire room around you, so it is quite difficult to avoid.
Okay. Well, it's a slim chance, but I'm going for it anyway. Let's give it that. I wonder if this will work properly. Nope, never mind.
Oof. Alright, so you take
damage.
that 6 damage.
To might first, or?
Yes, I believe
Okay.
so. So that happens as it becomes clear that essentially the situation is going critical, and even more so than before, you can hear or feel the entire structure around you shifting, as the chamber itself seems to be kind of relatively preserved. You can see the walls kind of shifting as items drop over each other and kind of rise up over each other, but broadly speaking, the space remains coherent enough that you can kind of keep your more or less keep your footing. But it's almost as if this whole space is kind of shifting, perhaps upwards within the structure of the graveyard, which is surging up around it as well. And this is what the others can see as they see the surface of it.
I'd like to take this
kind of rippling
opportunity
and shifting.
to adapt to that energy.
Okay. Yeah. So that's just a,
Just an esoteric
broad strokes. Just you
energy
can
protection.
adapt to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Yep, that works.
Or 10 minutes.
Cool. Okay, so
Which
let's
gives me
see.
10 armor against it, so unless it's
Ah,
truly destructive, then it's not too bad.
well. Okay, so that. Oh, and also at this stage, the Oracle is, she's starting to gather more and more kind of matter and energy from the surrounding room, and kind of various, I don't know, kind of tendrily type um, protrusions are kind of shooting out of her and kind of connecting with the room around you. And as a result, she looks more like this.
Doesn't look like she's getting more pleasant over time.
She herself, in terms of a demeanor, is basically kind of racked with. I mean, it's rage, but this close and this intensely, you can discern that. So I mentioned before, and it seemed to sit somewhat oddly that you sense an aura of intense evil in her eyes, and I've kind of expanded on it a bit, but all that I really mean by it is, she is essentially a massive war criminal. It's not clear exactly what she did, but it's clear that not only did she commission extremely horrible and probably vast acts, she was the kind of person and being that reveled in doing that. She then took on the role of atoner, and she fully comprehended and took on the weight of her sins and what she did, but that didn't fundamentally change the nature of who she is. And as she takes on now this energy and starts to collect the power of the Guardian and the Graveyard, it is a combination of kind of utter rage and aggression, but also a kind of joy that is expressed in her wailing and screaming that is now kind of resonating deafeningly throughout the entire chamber. So that is happening. With Russell, he's kind of being subjected to the same process as her, but unwillingly and without attaining the benefit of it, if that makes sense. His own anguish and guilt is being forced on him to recognize, the actions that he has undertaken, and also his previous crimes as well are being kind of returned on him, kind of tenfold. So he likewise is racked with these intense emotions, but whatever power resides in his form is being basically sucked out and kind of ripped apart and salvaged, as is the case with all of the other prisoners, and that's what kind of supplies the great power that is inherent in this place. So that is what is going on within this chamber. Let's cut out to the other people who are outside. So I guess that is at this stage basically just Nye and Fayan. You can call on other characters who would be here, or you can just say they're taking care of themselves. But you have just escaped out of this temple that has been destroyed. You see this beam of kind of flashing, signaling light still shooting down from above, and you see the great commotion and upheaval in the graveyard several kilometers away over the forest.
Does it look like we'd be in terrible danger if we went into that area?
Well, it certainly seems so. I mean, you already witnessed the sheer size and power of the Guardian, which was one manifestation of the power of this graveyard, and again, you have sensed from that area and also the temple just a sheer massive energy of a class that is basically far above your own through sheer magnitude.
Okay, things are getting a bit crazy here. If we look up to the top of the blue thing, can we see anything of the blue beam? Do we see anything, or is it just a blue beam?
Yeah, you actually saw kind of towards the end of last session. Hi, by the way, Thomas. Shit is going down. You saw towards the end of the last session that as the beam went up and it kind of made contact with the red beam that was going up from the temple, there seemed to be some kind of event that happened up, some unknown distance high up in the sky, or maybe even higher, where basically a huge kind of shock wave flashed out from it and just radiated out over the sky and illuminated it with this great glowing kind of light that shines through the streaked clouds. Let me see, I think I have a picture that might suffice somewhat. Let's see. Just make a handout.
Do we know where Minim's gone, by the way?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, I remember that you basically saw it because he was kind of invisible, basically, up on the platform with you and Russell.
That's right.
And I think he basically, Russell just disappeared, is how it was described. Although I think Minim had sent you a signal that he was there by chucking you his lovely bread pomander.
You can probably deduce it.
I would at
I
least
mean,
know
Russell
that.
was kind of like dangling by his neck from nothing for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have left any indication of the actual direction or destination that you were going to?
Nope.
Fair enough. Okay, so you don't know where he and Russell disappeared to. The sky, by the way, looks somewhat like, I mean, not exactly, but this is close as I can find, somewhat like this.
Wow.
It is glowing with very intense and colored lights. And you can see a very intensely bright light up at the terminus of the blue light, which, again, is some unknown distance up high. So something is happening up there.
Did I use
Yes.
some divining cards to figure things out then?
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so just remind me, there's a cost associated with using them, right? Or not? Did we
Not-
set that up as kind of a necessary, or?
We just set it up as flavor, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and no cost, but we could spend some intelligence to
Yeah, I
or
think
make
that
a
would,
roll.
yeah, I think that would make sense. Just let's say the cost is 3 intellect, and then you can. I think we worked this out before. You can also potentially try taking. Essentially, you modify the card based on your understanding of it in order to try and potentially affect events. If you do, I think that will cost more intellect again, but it might have potentially far-reaching consequences.
Right.
Okay, so let's say you spend the initial 3 intellect to draw the card and try and divine something from that about the situation. What you see depicted on the card is, let's see, it's a scene of, on the right there is a grave, a kind of mausoleum depicted, and it is being let's see, there is a skeleton in front of it wielding a kind of spear and, I don't know, a shield and a helmet, defending it from, let's see, defending it from a living warrior who is attired with the same equipment. And in the, yeah, let's see, in the background there is mountains that are on fire.
Mm.
Right.
So that, I mean, you may not necessarily get a direct interpretation of that offhand. I mean, just feel free to go based on your intuition. If you do not, then I suppose that is just a case of the magic failing.
Is it a matter of like
So these, I mean,
these
these just to be clear, these are supposed to kind of represent the underlying situation in a symbolic way. But it represents things that you may or may not have been able to discern already and to link together. I guess, I mean, I'll help you out a little bit.
So, I mean, if the warrior, that's the sort of skeletal warrior, represents the graves, the
essentially.
dead or the tortured, does that mean we need to use them, or it's to our advantage to use them to defend the place?
Well, if these things are coming down,
Like
ship
it.
or ships, I mean, this big giant graveyard beast thing seems to want to defend a graveyard, and he doesn't like us because we kind of destroyed his graveyard. But he didn't seem to be a threat to anyone before that. It seems to be more things coming down from the sky I'm more concerned about.
Yeah, it's repeatedly been referred to as the guardian of the repository, and again, just to remind you, it is also kind of the manifestation of the oracle as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy to let them just finish each other off, but if these aliens end up winning, I'm sure it's not going to end up well for everyone around here.
Sounds like a bad idea if, they're the guys that the war criminal is, calling on for help.
Yeah, that's probably not a good thing. But what can we do to help with like a giant graveyard beast? I mean, that thing's pretty powerful. We only just survived last time, and it took us
That
this
was
long
by
to try to
running
figure out a
away.
way. But yeah, I mean, if we just run away here, though.
I figure it makes sense that at this point, Minim just pops back, kind of, and then he's. It's all right, guys. I fixed it.
What?
I gave Russell to the lady.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Actually, no.
No.
No?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to say that as you attempt to teleport out of the place, you basically, let's see, how does your, like, you've kind of described how it looks or appears in terms of when you teleport. But I guess I would ask, how does Minim kind of experience it in terms of, does he feel like he is traveling through the space between, point A and point B, even if it's kind of astrally or whatever? Or is it just a case of like, in one place, then in the other?
More or less the latter. It's kind of, the way I sort of do it in my head is kind of traveling fourth dimensionally, but it's basically instantaneous. He's aware that he's sort of moving in a way, but it's pretty much instant.
All right, so in that case, as you try and teleport, and if you go ahead and spend the cost from that,
It's basically free at this point.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, nevertheless, you find yourself basically arriving in the same place that you left. As you've already taken. You did take damage already from being in this place, and then you managed to adapt yourself to avoid just literally, being burned up basically by this energy. However, it is. How to describe it? If you were flying, it would be like trying to fly into a tornado. Is what it's like trying to pass through this energy that is now running through the entire structure of the graveyard and shaping it and changing it and coalescing it into one being. Essentially, at this point, trying to teleport out of it would be like dealing a colossal wound to it in difficulty, if that makes sense, because you are now inside what is becoming a distinct being. As a result, the energy that is now basically consuming Russell and flowing into the Oracle is kind of burning and dancing over your body and becoming increasingly intense. To the extent that it begins to feel like even your adaptations will eventually be overcome by this energy. You can also, I'll throw in as well, you can also sense kind of the Oracle's intent, and specifically the sense of readying and unleashing its kind of power and coming into being, in the sense of, becoming actually powerful rather than simply a dormant and inactive power, and also a sense of having a distinct and terrible focus, a goal that needs to be achieved, namely the destruction of the invaders that have been called down.
Cool. That is a goal that we can dig.
Okay. Well, in that case, I mean, I've got where has it gone? Energy protection, which is the armor thing. I've also got
Yeah.
adaptation, which pretty much makes me able to survive in any kind of environment. But I'm just going to go ahead and use, because I've never used it before, untouchable, which is part of the, exist partially out of phase thing, which for 1 minute basically makes you invincible, except
okay.
to mental attacks and special transdimensional energies. So I can't be. It's called untouchable. I can't be touched by anything and can't interact with anything myself.
And MC Hammer plays whenever you use it.
Exactly.
But just remind me, except what?
You change your phase state for 1 minute so that you can't be affected or be. So that you can't affect or be affected by normal matter or energy. Only mental attacks and special transdimensional energies, devices, or abilities can affect you, but likewise you can't attack, touch, or otherwise affect anything.
Aha. Okay. Sure. So, yep, you go ahead. I mean, yeah, you activate that, and that, I guess further fine-tunes the effect of your phasing, I guess you might say, to make it extra impervious, as it were, and to almost fully decrease the extent to which you are having any presence or effect in the world. So you take that protective measure, and certainly the sense of harm that is coming from the energies flowing around you temporarily abates as you find yourself more or less untouched by it. Okay, let's see. Let's leave you there for now, and let us go back to the others. So you're standing outside the temple, basically, or the ruins of the temple, as enough distance away from it that you are safe from it. Jungle and the older ruins of the temples and buildings surrounds you, along with, let's see, I mean, there's still plenty of the aliens, basically, but they seem to have suddenly fallen into disarray. Many of them are basically just kind of gesticulating and kind of grunting phrases, kind of at each other, and also just at like the walls and the consoles and things. They seem to have completely lost any coordination between themselves and to be very confused. There are great packs of them still roaming around the area. They don't pay you any immediate attention, but it's unclear if they are exactly kind of pacified or if they're going to be aggressive or what.
Can we understand the stuff that they say?
Let us see. Yeah, I mean, you've got Zion with you. Let's just go ahead and say that he basically has figured out how to translate for these things at the moment. But he isn't able to pick up much solid, basically. I mean, I mentioned before that they have a kind of caste-like structure, or an almost kind of ant-like kind of structure, social structure, that is. And, it's basically like they've lost their kind of queen, and the normal kind of patterns of, as it were, pheromones, although it seems like it's more of a kind of telepathic thing, are absent, or, maybe put it another way, it's like the Borg when whatever the queen dies, and they're all like, what the fuck? So anyway, they basically are just kind of more or less milling about. Some of them are trying to get some semblance of organization, and or most of that is just in the sense of them organizing basically parties to run away and get out into the jungle. Some of them seem to be maybe trying to fix the situation by dealing with the kind of backup terminals and equipment and stuff that's scattered around, but otherwise they are more or less at a loss.
Is all the terminals and stuff, are they actually active still?
Let's see. So basically, although most of the improvement, and I guess you might say equipment, was set up inside the temple itself, there's also just, if you imagine a building site or something, there's just various items, kind of like generators and panels and kind of lifting machines and various things like that that are kind of scattered around the place outside of the temple, and some of them are still intact.
Okay. Can I poke at one, see if I can figure out, well, basically anything? I don't know whether it's instructions on what's being transmitted from the ship, messages being sent back to that, just any information I can get to figure out what's going on.
Okay, yeah.
Or what's about to go on.
Yeah, sure.
Could I, while he's doing that, could I sort of get in contact with Stason and get the Stason mobile?
Yeah. So let's
use it at some point.
see if this map is set up correctly. Not quite. All right. So my name is over here. Oop. 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 All right. So
the old map.
Oh.
yeah. So so this is kind of the overall map of the area. Let's see. I can't quite remember.
Wait, we left the Stason mobile somewhere close, didn't we?
I'm trying to think.
No, we
because-
teleported back.
Yeah, you will teleport them
Seriously?
back.
You're
and
right.
I think that I can't remember if you took Hyoyon with you, but certainly Stason was back
We
at the
Hyoyon
graveyard.
remained. We took alien hate man fighter Zion.
Okay, I'm going to say that the Station Mobile is still posted kind of at the boundary of the graveyard, so it is several kilometers away from you.
Is he right next? Isn't it also right next to where the giant graveyard beast is currently forming as well?
Pretty much.
Okay, if we're going to get him to move, we're going to need to. Do we have any way of contacting him?
Yeah, I think we established you basically have like walkie-talkies that can talk to him.
We
So,
might
yeah,
want
you
to
can
bring him
go
over
to them.
because
Yeah.
I mean we don't know where Minim is, granted, but if it doesn't get here, then we could have problems with basically it ends. If we leave it too much longer, the graveyard beast is going to end up following Statesman Beale back here. I think that might not be terrible because then at least we lead it into battle with this temple
Well, I
space.
think if an invasion does happen, it'll know where to go anyway.
I mean, either way, we should probably get Stason and the Statesman Beale over here because
Yeah,
we want to give as much of a head start as possible and not just be the first target.
Yeah.
I'm overthinking this, I think.
Okay, so you you want to call the Station Mobile to start heading its way back to you. If you remember, it can't get right up to the temple. It has to stop kind of roughly, I think it was around here, which is where the jungle gets too thick for it to easily traverse unless it cleared the way with its cannons and stuff. But even then, it might be quite difficult. So you have to get a certain distance. I think it's like a couple of kilometers or something like that. To that point, to the kind of RV point, as it were. Let's go ahead and draw on the map. Let us say that this here is kind of the RV point. Just down to your bottom right. Okay, so they you call in on the radio and you vaguely hear Stason Kurthing, "Christ, he's a big boy." But also gunning the engine, and in fact you hear a muffled boom.
I shout to Stason, there's no time for that now. You gotta move.
You hear a muffled boom and a roar over the radio as he engages the kind of overcharger on the engine and just goes barreling across the desert in your direction. But it's going to be a little while before he gets here still. I don't know, 10 minutes-ish, something like that. Okay, so you find yourselves... Actually, let's see. Okay, so is your plan, by the way, to just go and meet up with the station mobile, or are you wanting to do something else in this area?
I would like to check out these control panels first before we leave.
Yeah, sorry, that's right. Okay, so let's see. Do you have skills in like Numenera?
Yes, I have skills in. Don't bring it up. Numenera and communication
Oh, nice.
and mechanics. I don't know which is the most appropriate, but
yeah, let's say you're specialized in that case.
Okay, cool.
Through the combination of those. Cool. So give me a intellect roll. I mean, yeah, let's say actually because you have. Okay, sorry, I'll put it this way. It's going to be difficulty 4. You have Zion with you, able to help out with translations and stuff, so that's an asset.
Okay, and I'm still specialized in it as well?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, I put a point, spend some intellect effort on it, and that actually brings it down to 0. So.
Okay, nice. Cool. So you succeed, and
do you want me to roll anyway, just in case it's a drastic failure?
It is up to you. You get the chance of a success or a failure.
Never roll.
You say never roll? Well, because I heard always roll. Always roll. Yes. Go on, YOLO, as the kids say.
Okay, I'm going to say nothing particularly special. So basically, let's see. Okay, see, I mean, yeah, you managed to basically tap into kind of the communication systems, which is what you are interested in. On the way, you will encounter a whole bunch of error messages and warning messages and things to do with all the stuff that has been destroyed. But you also get into the communications thing, and in fact, you see that that is basically the main remaining active component of whatever kind of computery type system is set up here. And you see that a communication link has been set up with a group of kind of unidentified, just random call signs, basically, kind of military call signs. Well, potentially military anyway. Or they could just be, ship call signs or something else. But in any case, they are actively communicating with this station. They mostly seem to be basically querying why the signal from down below has stopped. And also, basically, they had requested, well, from Russell, you're able to determine kind of a report on the situation and like a justification essentially for calling in, reinforcements or making contact in the first place. And they're still requesting information on that. They're also receiving, however, from the kind of remaining systems in the temple and also just from their own scanning of the area, essentially they're getting some picture of just the situation on the ground, the fact that the temple was here and it's been destroyed, and the fact that the graveyard is kind of erupting. And let's see. Go ahead and give me another roll to get a final detail or two.
Sure. What difficulty?
Let's see. At the end, they basically switch into a kind of semi-coded kind of military, potentially military type kind of vocabulary where they're basically coordinating plans amongst themselves. So I'm going to say this is a difficulty 6 to not only work the controls and so forth, but also to decipher exactly what they're getting at here.
Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, yeah, I will roll for that. I'm going to spend 2 points of effort on it because I really do want to not pass this. Am I still specialized and have an asset, or would this be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, situation's
Cool.
the same there.
Ooh,
Nice. Okay, so let's see. Basically, what they are saying is that, well, first of all, I guess probably the minor effect is going to be that you find out more information about, who is calling essentially, and you seem to you pick up from the way they're designated and things like that, that they seem to be essentially a kind of sentry post that is set up to guard a kind of prison site, and it's unclear whether that refers specifically to this specific one. You kind of get the impression that it may refer to a network of sites, whether that is on Earth or in other locations. It's difficult to tell, but in any case, they represent in some sense the more official authority in the area, I guess. However, you also pick up the fact that basically they are operating at kind of minimal capacity, because you pull up records of kind of past communications and stuff, and you see that essentially they've been in place here, or wherever they are up in the sky, for tens of thousands of years. And also that they basically are operating in a kind of, what's the word, kind of autonomous mode, because all communication with whatever civilization they came from has been lost. And finally, in terms of just the basic task you're doing, which is working out what they're doing, they are sending an expeditionary force down to the site to ascertain the situation.
Okay, there's a lot of information there, which is good.
Yes.
Just to clarify some things, the Central Communications Hub, that is this station that's somewhere in the sky, yes? So what they said that's somewhere in the temple still.
Yeah, well, I mean, so the temple itself has been destroyed, and that was essentially kind of the transmitter / main computer, you might say. What you're working from is basically just a terminal that is just simply reading the extremely strong signal that is being sent down, and you're also accessing kind of residual records that are left in this minor terminal that was left undestroyed. So you're not able to. You aren't able to communicate back to them.
Okay.
But they, all they know is that their signal from down below has been lost, and they're trying to work out why. So they don't necessarily know per se that the temple has been destroyed.
Right. Okay. My other question is, you mentioned something about the local authorities in the area. Does that sound like the group communicating? Well, the group sending the messages are the authorities, or they're discussing the authorities? I think I misunderstood that bit.
It is a little bit unclear, but essentially they are something like a kind of guard post, or I don't know what the term would be. They're a force that is stationed up in the sky to somehow oversee this, as it were, facility, and apparently other facilities as well.
And
on behalf of some even greater authority, basically their home civilization, which they have lost contact with for a long time.
Okay, are they different to the ones who are sending the messages that we think Russell was talking to? Are they the same?
No, the same. Yep, the same.
Okay.
So they are, in other words, they're the ones who are sending the blue beam down.
So Russell was talking to his civilization, who are also managing this prison?
Something like that, it seems.
Was he maybe wanting to get the extra expeditionary force overpowered and then make his way to wherever?
Maybe. I mean, do we have any idea what Russell was talking to him about? I mean, would that sort of information still be in his system, or is it just more recent?
I would say that most of that was destroyed along with the temple.
Okay.
You remember, so initially he kind of presented it as being some kind of astrology or something like that. And when you basically confronted him with evidence that that was not the case, he kind of protested and essentially said, so you'll kind of culturally, you will be aware of the concept of kind of visitants, which are basically extraterrestrials who in most cases have basically been left behind on Earth by whatever civilizations were existing in ancient times. And the kind of it is not uncommon for them to want to return home, basically, to escape the planet. And that is the way that he presented himself. He was kind of he said, you wouldn't understand. This isn't your business. Lowly planet dweller kind of thing. And yeah, he was just wanting to escape, but that in itself is not exactly an unknown motivation for such a visitance.
Okay. Jeez. Well, okay. I don't think we necessarily need to destroy this force then,
Not necessarily.
because they're not necessarily invaders trying to.
We can't communicate and sort of put them off. So,
No.
what is going to happen with the Guardian?
Yeah, their presence will probably provoke it in the same way driving through the graveyard did. So, pandemonium.
Yeah, I could see that. Geez, I don't know.
We don't know where Minim's gone either.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm all up for leaving the area, but do we want to ditch Minim?
Can we use our communications devices to see if we can get
Oh,
hold
yeah,
of them?
just-
I'm sure I think you mentioned
No, I
something
think
about
we
the
established.
signal.
Yeah, I think we established that if you're, down in the middle of the graveyard, your communicators will not be able to reach.
So
them.
we could try, but we wouldn't hear anything back from Minim.
So, I mean, given that and what we know, it's not. I don't think it would be unrealistic for us to assume that, he has gone back down there with Russell.
Potentially, he would have gone somewhere with him, and I don't see him going up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's the most likely place, but I guess. Well, if we don't necessarily need to destroy ships, then I guess when they come down here, I mean, these aliens that are around at the moment aren't the same race as Russell and the other ones in the prison, are they? They're just something else, as far as I can tell from what my very little knowledge of aliens is.
You know what? Actually want to. Sorry, this is a bit late. I actually want to walk back a little bit of the information I just gave you about what they're communicating.
Okay.
Actually, I think I was jumping the gun by talking so much about kind of their overall situation. And also, I want to change what that information is because I've changed my mind about it. So,
Okay. That worked out well last time. Let's go for it.
yes. So basically, what I'm going to say is, it's broadly similar strokes in the sense that it is some spacebound force that is in some way linked to, well, presumably, Russell's civilization essentially, and the technology that was in the temple and the graveyard. You know that much. You know that they are sending a force, but maybe it's more than I'm adding something. Above all, they are surprised to get the signal because they are or were a great distance away. And had basically lost the coordination and the coordinates and the location of the planet. They have now been reminded of those coordinates by the signal that has been sent out.
Okay, so if there's any way we can disrupt that signal, would they still have a coordinates? Maybe. I mean, I probably wouldn't be able to figure that out from what I know.
They have already received the coordinates and transported their way here by some means, which explains the phenomenon in the sky.
That blue teleporty beam is still in the middle of a temple, isn't it?
It is shining down into the now ruined site of the temple from above.
Do you think if we stepped into that, it would teleport us back up? I mean, was that what Russell was doing, stepping into the beam, or was that beam something else?
It is what Russell seemed to be trying to do. However, he was configuring the beam beforehand using the kind of control panel type thing that he had, and that got destroyed.
Right.
Also, he was trying to use a kind of a pad type thing that was at the top of the crystal pillar, and that, along with the crystal pillar itself, has also been destroyed.
So if we step into the beam, it may work, it may not work. We don't know.
Indeed.
Do we want to go there? I mean, that will take us up to this central station, maybe, where maybe we can do something. I'm just trying to figure out if that's more useful than whatever we could do down here. I mean, I don't know what we can do right now.
Well, also
can
bear in
do-
mind that Erasmus can teleport.
Yes. Oh, great. Yes.
Yeah,
How
but-
far can you teleport?
to anywhere I've been, so
Right.
not
Wow.
into spaceships.
But if you were to go up to the spaceship,
You
can
know,
you
I'm
teleport
gonna,
other people?
sorry, just a quick note. I don't really like it being quite that broad, because then you could basically just teleport straight back into the safe reaches,
Yeah.
and that kind of seems a bit OP. So I like the concept in general. I like it being powerful, but I'd say it's more like you can teleport anywhere you've been within the past, like, a few days, as long as it's not too ridiculously far, something like that, just to limit it a little bit.
Can you
But
teleport?
yeah, go ahead.
Can you teleport other people or just yourself?
I can teleport up to.
It's
free-
kind of limitless, but it's with
Yeah.
it requires effort to add more people to it.
Yeah, and
3
I need
people
to
per
touch
level of
you,
effort.
so you have to be into that.
If, and this is a big if we do try to go up into this beam and we're fairly sure it won't kill us and we end up on the station, we could, in theory, teleport back down afterwards after we finish doing whatever we need to do up there.
Mm,
Do you think that's
It
possible?
says on Earth only, so or whatever planet, but whatever Dogface says is.
Yeah, I'd say teleporting down from an unknown distance out into space is going to be a bit beyond the limit of it as well.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
teleport specifically
But-
says on the same planet. So if you're in
okay.
space,
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're in space, that might be a bit far. Okay. Never mind, it was a bit of a stretch. So if we do go up there, it may be a one-way trip until we find out how... I mean, we'd
I'd
like to
say,
ideally get
if you want-
home, not just get further away from home.
I'd say if you want, you can make another roll, and see, it was 6 before. I think this.
Yep, it was 6 before. There's 4, then 6, then...
Yeah, let's say it's another 6 then, to basically try and analyze the beam in some way and figure out if it is suitable for what you're proposing.
It's not... I'm also concerned about the desk... Oh, it was already configured to be thing, wasn't it? It's just where it's suitable. Okay, let's give it a roll. 2 points of effort. Boom.
Oof.
Absolutely
Oh.
fine, I'm sure. What could possibly go wrong?
amazing.
No, I'm going to say that is simply. In fact, I'm going to. I'm going to say you fail. You not only fail to get any, real idea of the state of the beam or whether it would be safe to do that. You also basically shut yourself out of that terminal.
Okay.
But I'm not going to
right.
be so mean as to say that you believe the wrong thing in this case, because I think that would be route towards a total party kill.
It's more interesting if I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
you
I like
you
that.
try and find out, but you're simply unable to, and the terminal no longer seems to be responding to you.
Shit. Okay. Well, maybe leave that as a desperate last-ditch attempt. I'm assuming it's not just let's go over to the second terminal and try again, because that would feel a bit cheap. So, right. Well, we figured out a lot. Suggestions? Anyone?
Does Mimon don't know where we are, or he is down in the catacomb?
He probably knows where we are.
Well, he knows where he left you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we teleport away.
We have an inkling of where he is, but we don't know for sure.
Oh, we could teleport back. Oh, I shouldn't say this, but that's for entirely out of character reasons. We could teleport back to the that chamber just to see if Minim is there. And
I
maybe
mean,
we could
you
talk
can
to one.
see that chamber is now up and walking.
No, is the chamber itself moving? I didn't quite understand that. I thought it was
So
just...
basically, the graveyard it's kind of erupting upwards, but it's increasingly starting to erupt up into a particular form, which is basically almost a more souped-up version of the Guardian. with even more kind of frills and pauldrons and gills and
Jeez,
horrible,
okay.
powerful-looking things. But
What is it with Minim ending up inside these giant freaky creatures?
this
It's
one
where they're
seems to
most vulnerable.
maybe be a little bit more than Minim can chew. Or if you remember the last time you saw it, it was something like 2.5 kilometers long. If anything,
Yeah.
it seems to be forming up into an even bigger shape than that now. So bad things happen over there.
Didn't
Okay.
like us damaging it, I guess. That was
If
not
guys
good.
are on the way here,
Mhm.
some of us should probably be here to meet them in person. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
just to give them the possible runaround, saying, "Oh yeah, something we've handled the situation," that sort of thing.
That would
Could make a illusion to tell them with the Scion, he can translate the language, so I should be able to create an illusion that tells them he is dangerous.
There's one
Something
slight
that's
problem with this plan. Well, Russell isn't here.
like
We've still got
this.
all these other alien things running about, and they might say they took their king away or their
Hey,
queen
but
or whatever they
aren't
want to call
these
them.
guys just locals? I mean, aren't they locals that your man took over?
I thought they were
It
aliens.
seems to be you seem to have picked up something along those lines. Like locals might not be quite accurate. They seem to be aliens themselves, but they seem to be separate from the caste or species or whatever that are in the graveyard and originally made the temple and so forth. They're just some other community who seem to have been basically picked up as useful, exploitable workers by Russell.
So, slave workers, basically.
Something like that. I mean, you
Okay.
don't know what they got out of the arrangement, but yeah, they
Right.
were working for Russell and have no other particular interest in this situation. In other words, however, they don't have much ability to really react to these events on their own without some kind of guidance.
We don't actually know what these creatures look like in their natural form, do we? Because the only ones we've seen have been very shriveled, radiation-ravaged corpses and zombie-like ones. And
More or
Russell.
less, yeah. They look. So just to remind you, they seem to, or at least after being trapped in a horrible, torturous prison for tens of thousands of years, or however long, about 10,000 years, I think I said it was. They look something like this.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think here if should we expect it to look like Russell? If we made an illusion of Russell or made Xeon's alien persona hunter guy look a bit like Russell, would that be our best bet for communicating? And what are they going to think? What the hell's up with all these flowers, man? Supposed to be all more green and leafy.
Well, the flowers and stuff seem to be basically kind of a disguise / a mechanism for controlling the other aliens, the worker aliens. So that is not a natural part of their bodies.
But if
The
you look
weird
like
zombie-looking
that,
thing.
then maybe the other aliens would
Oh, I see.
listen to us.
And if
Can you-
they are like ants or bees, whatever, and they communicate by dancing, I'm specialized in interpretive dance, so
Brilliant. Well, I think it would make sense then for somebody either an illusion. I mean, do we want this illusion to be a separate person in case we need to ditch them, or do we want to put the illusion on somebody? What
I'm
makes-
also specialized in disguises, so I couldn't just.
I have some of the petals. If you
You have
wish
some
to look at them.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'd say that's all shaping up to mean you could probably make a pretty decent replica of Russell if you wanted to.
I like this plan. It's the only plan which may not get us all killed so far. So
Sure.
I say we go with it.
Guys think that either one of us is Russell, though,
I
and
don't.
they turn out to be like jailers themselves.
Yeah, maybe we should make Russell. I say if you make him a separate illusion, like we did with Beleferon,
Might be the
many moons
safest.
ago, then at least we can just leave Russell behind as we move away and not have to leave one of ourselves to get locked up in a prison of eternal hell damnation for many millennia. Yeah, it's been way too long since I've had any drugs. I'm starting to sound too sober.
This all happened because you wanted drugs.
God, don't remind me of that. The guilt. It makes me need to,
Have some more drugs.
have some more drugs.
All right. So how are you planning to actually make contact with these aliens who are arriving?
I was thinking if we could perhaps get the other aliens to do it for us. I mean, if they built this temple, potentially, they might be able to build another communications thing of some sort, or maybe direct us to a working one.
Do we have any time?
Do we have any way of talking? No, we have interpretive dance. We can can you communicate through the form of interpretive dance that we need another communicator. Maybe we can make them dig for one. There could be some in the temple still.
Okay.
Rubble.
Interesting.
How many aliens are there, sorry, number-wise? Are we talking 10?
I mean, there's
100?
lots. I'd
Right.
say at least several hundred.
Okay,
Maybe more.
that's a lot of scavenging, and that could work, I think.
Okay. All right.
I'll leave it to Erasmus, so as the dancer interpretator man.
So, sorry,
just
just so I'm clear. So when you're talking about making contact with the aliens, you mean the worker aliens, and you're basically using a kind of Russell puppet to do that with? Is that
That
about
was
right?
my thought, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And if we need a communicator or some sort of machinery, they might know best where one could be. Words, sentences failing.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
might
I know what you mean.
know
I
where
just,
to find one.
wanted to check that you didn't mean like making contact with the aliens who are coming down from space.
I'd rather redirect them somehow, but I don't know how. I mean, maybe if we we're up there,
Bite the
but
bullet.
we'd have to. Sorry, what was that?
We might just have to bite the bullet, though, and
Yeah.
you know, this might not end well. You know, it might not end without conflict, but
It never ends well, but at least this way, if it ends badly, at least we have several hundred worker bees underneath us to cushion the impact slightly.
True. Okay. So right. So so you're going to. So I think it was Erasmus who's going to basically construct a particularly convincing and well disguised illusion of Russell. So if you go ahead and make me, actually, I guess those are all esoteric, so you can just spend the cost and kind of automatically do it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and I can use edge to make them.
But actually, I think it's appropriate to have some kind of role in there. So
Okay.
to basically do kind of the disguise part of it, where you convincingly make it look like Russell and can have the same mannerisms, and you also have to pay attention to he kind of semi-communicated by like flapping and moving and changing all the flowers and leaves and stuff around him. So you kind of have to try and replicate that as best you can. So I'm going to say that is intellect difficulty 4, I think.
Neat.
Hooray! Go Erasmus.
Nice. All right. So, you
Yes.
twirl your cane around ostentatiously, and a very exact replica of Russell basically assembles from the. So I think, Fayan, you said you had like a couple of samples of his leaves and stuff.
Yeah,
So I guess
I should have some left.
I guess you hand those to Thomas, and they kind of float in the air, and then more leaves and branches and stuff kind of come in from the surrounding jungle and coalesce into a rather convincing Russell. Nice. Okay, so you are currently, I don't know, like say something like 100 feet from the temple, and there's just kind of miscellaneous bands of these worker aliens kind of milling around or running around in groups and trying to do their various things. So how do you get their attention?
Maybe you need some sort of loud word or phrase you could shout, which would draw their attention over in this direction. What could that word possibly be?
Actually, let's just add in, I think you will have picked up just from kind of what some of them are shouting and stuff that they don't all seem to believe that Russell's necessarily dead because, the explosion was such chaos. Some of them are basically making little impromptu kind of search parties looking for him.
So there's supposed to be some ruins now, because the ruins are now more ruinous
Yeah, so
Oh, were you
so
there?
basically this whole area has several very old ruins that haven't really been touched too much, and then in the center there was this much more modern and shiny looking kind of tower like in the picture below, but that is now lying in ruins. So yes.
So I will pick out the tallest, most visible of the remaining ruins then, and have Russell coalesce on the top of those with some fancy lights also
Nice. All right, so he appears in a rather showy manner on top of one of the, and it's kind of spotlighted on top of one of the old kind of tumble down ziggurat type things. The let's see, I think I'm going to have. Okay, so basically you succeeded in your role, so they're convinced that he is indeed Russell, and they gather around him, basically looking for orders. I think I'm gonna ask Bean because I think he is the closest to a kind of plant whisperer. Like basically, the thing is, part of this is done through I think kind of pheromones, and part of it is kind of psychic. So basically, I think Bean is going to have to be involved to do kind of dynamic like aromatherapy to try and put together little concoctions that make the right smells and stuff according to what you picked up from your time in Russell's company.
That will be interesting to do on the fly, but I'll see what I can do. I only have a one pocket full of Russell, and has that been used to create the illusion? So have I
No,
lost
let's say
that
you
now?
still have some of that stuff left, and also like,
So
and
half
just kind of
pocket
as
full
a
of Russell.
general rule, like when you need to do something like this, we can think of it as something that your character, will have realized that might be a good idea, and he's just been kind of tinkering away in the background to pull out this kind of trick.
Okay. Did I? Yeah. I think I'll just have to use my stuff. Worst case scenario, I do have. Actually, no. This is going to be useful. I've got something that can make somebody kind of witless. That's cipher. That's probably not going to be useful in this occasion, is it? I don't want to make.
Yeah, I think that wouldn't really apply to a whole crowd.
Right. Well, I've got quite a variety of different drugs. I think most of them are from the jungle, actually. So some local fauna
Well, actually, having
there.
said that,
Mushrooms.
what you're trying to do here is basically kind of take control of this rather, of these somewhat simplistic beings, and get them into a mood to do what you want. So I think you could definitely also be, misting the air with certain compounds that might make them more likely to do that, especially since you have Zion, the xenobiologist, with you to help you out.
Yeah, I'm sure I could throw a few drug doses. I'll probably use some of the special ones, I'll be honest, for special behaviors, just to make everyone a bit more chilled out, man, and a bit more willing to say, yeah, we believe you, man.
Okay, I'll tell you what. So this is going to be it's a level 8 task, but you're specialized. You have an asset from Zion, and for every, how many special doses do you have?
I've got 6, I'll be honest.
Okay, yeah. So I think for every special dose or 3 normal doses that you spend, that will kind of count as effort, so it will reduce the difficulty by 1.
What's the difficulty currently, sorry?
8.
It's at 8 and specialized. Did you say I got an asset?
Yep, that's from Zion.
Is that one asset? Okay. So do I have to spend the drugs in place of effort or as well as effort?
You can do either. Like
Right.
either or. Sorry, I mean like both or one or whichever.
Okay, well, I'll spend a couple of effort for intellect because I can. That brings it down to 2, 4. That brings it down to difficulty 3. I guess I'll use a couple of doses of special drugs
Cool.
to do that. So that takes me down to 4 rows just to kind of mist the area. I could tell the other guys what I'm doing. Yeah, I'll tell them what to do. I'm not going to be a dick about it. I'll tell them what to do. I have no easy way to affect things, so I'm just going to reduce the difficulty by 2 in the action.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
fine.
so yeah, it's difficulty 1 now. What could possibly go wrong with this?
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
That's what.
it'll be absolutely fine.
Nice. Okay, so
Okay.
successfully accomplished this rather daunting task through your
Just as well.
alchemical expertise. And as a result, basically, through a combination of Russell kind of serving as like the visual figurehead with Erasmus's showmanship, and that combined with the more subtle manipulations of Fean, enabled you to kind of more or less take authority over these kind of worker aliens. Normally they might be a bit more intractable, but right now they're kind of really panicked and they're just looking for almost anybody to tell them what to do. So they're all too happy to believe that Russell somehow survived the explosion, and it's all the more impressive for it, and is now, issuing them commands. So what is it that you want to tell them to do?
I thought we might
So
want
you
to
were talking before about setting up basically setting up communications,
yeah,
and
or at
or
least
maybe some kind of means of teleportation up to the aliens.
well, we might have teleportation, but I suppose some sort of communication with the central hub place, maybe. Because we're
Yeah,
there, we might be able to. I think that's probably going to be more suitable than just the Ravage Temple down here in terms of getting information, maybe redirecting this fleet. Or
yeah.
maybe worst case, getting them to target the prison and then going home. I don't know.
The
Okay, so sorry, yeah, go ahead.
the aliens, they are organic, right? They are not robotic.
Um,
Yeah.
let's see. I can't quite remember what we decided on that. I mean, yeah, I'd say they're basically kind of like what you might call natural cyborgs. Like they are basically organic beings, but they incorporate a lot of kind of metal and advanced materials into their bodies.
So could they, like ants, form a bridge to sail on the river, create a kind of a symbiotic spaceship?
Interesting.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Because that sounded like you were trying to form them all into a giant organic spaceship. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome is
Okay,
possible.
interesting
It's
idea.
Numenera, so
Let's see. Okay, I think that's going to require another roll to, well, find out / determine whether they are able to, or decide whether or not they are able to do that. Let's see. I mean, yeah, certainly you have, they seem to be able to kind of channel energy or power through themselves. They were mostly using it just to do kind of building tasks. But maybe this might be possible. Go ahead and give me I think this is going to be another intellect roll difficulty 8. I think this is a combination of kind of communication and kind of analysis to A, work out whether it's physically possible, and B, to kind of poll them on that issue and potentially persuade them to do it. So any skills that you have in that area, or any I don't know, like scanning type abilities, anything like that, is going to contribute to this.
Well, I got Numenera and deception and persuasion, so I think
Okay,
I should
yeah.
be able to specialize in that.
Yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
due to the dynamic aromatherapy, I think I should have an asset.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then I throw a buttload of effort and intellect.
Wow. Okay. So let's see. Sorry, this is just kind of coming out of left field. So let's see how it works. Okay, so I think we also Fayan, I think you basically succeeded in like taking control essentially of this group as well. So yeah, I'm going to say, because you have been lucky enough to get some decent rolls and you've spent some effort and stuff, you basically are able to unlock both functions in them. So let's say, you can you find out that they have a function of basically conglomeration and linking together in order to, they're essentially kind of like tools, kind of like living tools. And apparently they're able to kind of link themselves and form themselves together in order to create more advanced tools. And yeah, let's say that basically with a little manipulation and negotiation and so forth, you're able to get a large group of them to basically group themselves together and then start doing a kind of human pyramid type thing where they start kind of crawling over each other and kind of linking limbs. And when they do that, you can hear the kind of vacuum seals forming, and they form a very odd looking, not particularly big, but somewhat viable looking craft. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weirdly shaped. I'm thinking of it kind of like a nematode or something. It kind of has a big bulbous back and then a kind of spiky section underneath. You kind of have to crawl through these kind of stiff tendrils to get inside, and then they kind of close behind you, when and if you want to get inside this thing. And there's kind of weird, inscrutable arrangements of kind of lights and clusters and buttons and things. So it's all very alien, but you seem to be able to basically use that as A, transport, and B, also a communications relay to talk to the force of ships that is arriving. So that's a bit unusual, but I like it. You've managed to assemble yourself a weird spaceship out of aliens, and you're apparently going to use that to achieve your task.
I have to ask, did anything point you towards this? Or was this just something you decided, can we make them do this? Did I just miss the aliens morphing into buildings and stuff?
Well, it's an interesting interpretation of how, I mean, as I say, they are essentially kind of living tools. So I think it's quite cool to use them in that way. And if you have the skills for it, then why not? I'm not going to stop you.
No, it's fine. I just wasn't sure. I had no idea if this was something I could even do.
I mean, let's say they also, at the same time, they don't just use themselves. They kind of pull in some of the equipment that they've been working on, and also some of the ruins of the temple. Let's say they drag over a chunk of the kind of red crystal pillar that they were working on before, and incorporate that as like kind of a power cell type thing.
So we have a spaceship.
Yeah. Difficult to tell exactly what its capabilities are or how long it's going to last.
Well, as long as we know that we only need to fly up to the blue thing.
Yeah.
So, shall we use this to fly up? I'm guessing we don't need to teleport there now.
Will it carry everyone?
I don't know, will it?
Yeah, let's say it's bigger. It's kind of the size of like a bungalow or I don't know, something big.
Bungalows are big. You can fit many people in a bungalow. I know it's some personal experience.
I'm guessing Cyan Wisp is unhappy about this whole alien.
Yeah, let's say the whole time he's like ranting and yelling like, "Don't trust them. This is exactly what they want us to do."
Are you saying he doesn't want to board the alien spaceship?
I can feel them scanning our essences. Yeah, I don't know, that kind of thing. But let's say it's kind of a Mr. T situation. Like he's like, "I ain't getting on no spaceship, fool," and I don't know, what Cyan Wisp like. You somehow tempt him onto the space, or maybe you just. Yeah, actually, I guess Fayan would be.
I'm not going to knock him out. I will just give him a helping.
It's a glass of milk. It's a glass of milk.
It will calm yourself. Help calm you down.
Why is this milk green?
Comes from a green cow. Don't question it.
All right. So let's. So we'll break in a second, but before that, let us briefly cut back to Minim. So you found yourself unable to immediately escape the chamber that you launched yourself into, and however, you are kind of using a combination of your senses and the sheer power of the kind of aura or energy that is coursing through this place. Although you've managed to just on the fly adapt to your body and the matter and your phase in order to avoid taking damage from it, it is nonetheless extremely powerful and also extremely intent, as you feel not just the will of the Oracle, but also the kind of subjugated and basically insane wills of all of the prisoners and sinners who are kept here, coalescing into this one force of, well, aggression, but specifically of guardianship, protection, and punishment of the the force that has been summoned here, which it, they, and perhaps to an extent now you, as you kind of somewhat are linked with them, identify as being even worse than the ones who are captured here, because this being believes the ones who are coming are the ones who rejected all remorse for their past actions. So I guess I kind of wanted to determine, like, so your reaction to all this, are you still wanting to escape from this situation, which feels, you know, you feel a distinct risk of you being overwhelmed by the sheer force that you are positioned in the center of, and the sheer force of will as well. So are you wanting to escape, or are you wanting to take some other path?
Well, I don't think escaping is going to be too tricky, given that it's not just teleporting. He can kind of walk through walls and stuff as well.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of wondering if I kind of don't want to do the
I feel,
eat its brain thing that he does.
yeah, I feel like this energy that is coursing around you. Well, I mean, okay, yes, it probably is rather mouth-watering to Minim, but I feel also like, and you know, this might tie into some of the things we discussed. I feel like there might also be a sense of kind of kinship and recognition that would occur to Minim in being exposed to this person and this situation that they are in, as it were, and this force and this creature that is taking shape.
From a
But
practical point of view, I mean, it might be good to just have a say in what this thing does, if such a thing is possible.
yeah, but I'll leave it to you as to how you react to that.
For now, Minim is he's doing his untouchable thing, but like massively so.
Yeah.
He's in so much as he has any interaction with the dimension that he's on, he's sort of started to pull out of it slightly, and is now watching a very, very interesting scenario take place as kind of like a detached observer. So,
yeah, I kind of imagine it's a little bit like being in the center of like I don't know, like a tornado or an earthquake or like a huge, almost like a nuclear explosion or something, but having no clip on, as it were.
yeah, kind of like at the aquarium when you go and pop your head through the bubble windows into like all the sharks and stuff. Kind of that sort of thing. I figure that to him at the moment it's probably very quiet and very calm, even though everything's
Interesting.
very, very obviously awful. But he's kind of just watching with fascination at this point.
Okay, so whatever exactly is happening with this Guardian, you are not immediately being affected or drawn into it as such, but you are currently very much along for the ride.
Yeah, I think if anything, he's probably gearing up. He's probably at this point drawing on, reserves on knowledge, trying to get more in tune with what he is, to sort of rise to this this force.
Yeah.
Because he's used to being the apex predator, and that's kind of like his instinct. But for now, it's not just sort of like watching him, but bemusement. He's also kind of watching like a stalking predator sort of thing, sizing her up.
Yeah, yeah. I think he would also have an impression, just as an instinct, of almost a situation that feels kind of like standing like right inches away from the edge of, say, a motorway or highway or the Niagara Falls or something. If you make a wrong move, you could potentially be destroyed simply through sheer magnitude of force.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are potentially other avenues that you may be able to take. So with that, let us take our break.